Hello everyone, welcome to my review of Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. Normally on this channel I do fantasy books, but this time I had a little fun game with my mom that I recommended her book, which was Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, and she recommended me Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, which is actually a mystery book, which is especially different than what I'm used to reading, because I don't really read mystery books. I believe this is the first one I've read. But a fun fact about this book is that it was published in 1937, almost 100 years ago. And throughout these years, it's had many adaptations. It's had like a stage play, a short 1 hour TV special kind of story. It had two movies, one from the 70s and one from 2022. It's had a 5-part radio serial, even a graphic novel, and it had a video game in 2007 and one that apparently comes out in December of this year of 2024. One of the other fun fact I have of this is usually in books that I read, I have to look up maybe one or two words. But this book, I've had to look up a lot of words because over the past almost 100 years, like the English language has changed. We don't really use a lot of these words anymore. And so there was a lot of new stuff for me to look up, which I thought was kind of fun. So going back to the actual story, I'm breaking this down into 4 parts, which is the deaths, is the pearls, the political agitator, and the problems I had with the story. Which I would like to say that even though I had problems doesn't mean I don't like the story, because I'll find problems in any story I read, even the ones I like a lot. And so, and this will definitely not be spoiler free. I want to talk about the deaths. So in the death section, we start with the first death, Lynette, who is one of the richest women from the UK. And we start out with her, with meeting her like her best friend who brought her fiance, and we have a time skip where Lynette took the fiance named Simon and married him, and they're on their honeymoon, and Jackie, who was her best friend that kept following her around. And so when her Q gets introduced into the story, he's actually on a vacation, so he was just like thrown into this, right? And it's basically leads to her death, where it turns out that her husband Simon shoots her in the head when she was asleep and kills her. And so which leads to the next death of Louise, I believe how you pronounce it. Unless I'm saying it wrong, please politely correct me, which was Lynette's maid. And it turns out who killed her was Jackie, because the big bump reveal is Simon and Jackie are working together to kill Lynette to inherit her money. And so the reason that Louise had to die is because she saw Simon go into the room right before Lynette died. And so she gets killed with a scalpel, which was used for her Q, and his partner in searching the investigator is a Colonel Race, which they thought the doctor did it because the doctor has the scalpels. And so that was the whole thing. And then the third death was Salem, I believe is her name. She is the romance novelist. She's the author, a failing author, and her daughter Rosalie is on the ship. And it's revealed by her daughter that Salem is an alcoholic. And then Salem actually saw who did the second murder, which was Jackie. And she came up to her Q and Race and said, hey, if this person killed them, then it's more likely they're the ones that killed Lynette, right? And they're like, yes, so tell us. And she was about to tell them. Jackie shoots her, runs away, they don't catch her. And so that was the third death. The last 2 deaths I'm bundling together because I actually thought it was a big surprise for me, was at the very end when they revealed it was Simon and Jackie. They're getting off the boat. Jackie pulls out her second pistol. She had like a set. Shoots Simon in the head, shoots herself. They both die. And so that was the deaths in the story, which, again, really surprised me. This leads to the next section, the pearls. And I can see why these other points pop up, because Agatha Christie, I believe, is trying to introduce these characters to get us to figure out who's the murderer or murderers, depending on the story, and trying to maybe act like a red herring or just get us guessing, which I can see as a positive, but also a negative because of how it can be handled. And so the pearls story revolves around Tim Allerton, it's revealed that he's a jewelry thief, and he went into Lynette's room, stole her pearls, and then hid them in his room in a rosary, and he actually had a fake set of pearls placed in her room, which led to this other character on the ship who is a known kleptomaniac. I don't know if known is the right word, but it's revealed she's a kleptomaniac who took the fake pearls, and then he was going to use her to as a fall man in a way. But that lady had a maid who found the pearls and knows that she's a kleptomaniac kleptomaniac and brought it to Hercule and be like, hey, I have these pearls. She tends to take them, but I don't think she's the murderer. And so that was that whole plot. And the funny thing how Hercule figured out they were fake is he like pulled them up to the light and he licked them, and somehow he knew they were fake. If there's like pearl specialists out there, let me know, because I thought that was kind of interesting, I guess. The other third part was the political agitator. I did not really care much for this one. I'll get into that in the problem section. Ricchetti, however you say his name, he's a political agitator. His whole thing was Lynette opened his telegram. Her maiden name was something, I think it's Ridgway, something close to his name. So they think she thought it was her telegram. And he got really mad about it. So they suspected him as the killer because he got like really mad. And it turns out that Colonel Race figured out through the telegram, he goes, oh, this is that political agitator we're looking for, and it's this guy, because his list is like almost like a grocery list in a way, if I remember correctly. And they arrest him at the very end of the story, right before Simon and Jackie's deaths. And so this goes to the third section, the problems I've had with the story. The first problem I have with the story is Jackie's gun. Earlier in the story on the boat, Jackie reveals her gun and her murderous intentions to Hercule Poirot, and I was surprised Hercule just didn't arrest her on the spot. Like she literally admitted that this is her intention, which I thought was really strange, and they just let that go. The second problem I had with the story was Pennington's gun. I didn't talk about Pennington earlier, because I didn't think it was a good time to talk about till now. So Pennington's one of these lawyer characters. I don't know if lawyer is the right word, but he's the one that like deals with Lynette's money or finances, and he's like shady, and he's trying to get her to sign paperwork. And they believe that Simon would be easier to manipulate because he doesn't really read the paperwork, but Lynette did. And so when they were searching rooms after the first murder, it might have been the second one, but one or the other, they're searching rooms for the firearm, and they find Pennington's in his drawer, but his is like a Colt 45 because what killed Lynette was a 22. And so they're like, oh, here's a firearm, and then they just leave it there. And then I was like, something's going to happen to that gun. And then dun dun dun, it's gone, and Jackie uses it to kill Salem, the author, right? And I thought that was really silly. I thought they should have just confiscated it because they already know a murderer's on the boat. And this leads to my third problem with Ricchetti. I just didn't like his plot line. I thought it was just, it didn't really do anything for me. I felt like it was just something to distract us from, is he the killer? And it's like, nope, he's not. He's just a political agitator. And somehow Colonel Race is like, oh, what a coincidence. This is the guy we're looking for. Let's arrest him. So I wasn't really a fan of that part. And so, oh yeah, this other part I forgot was going back to the jeweler pearls thing. Tim Allerton. Yeah, I forgot about this. This is also, I thought, kind of a problem. Tim Allerton, even though it's revealed he stole the pearls, he falls in love with Rosalie, and then Hercule just lets him go. They're like, eh. But okay, but they know he stole jewelry from other places, because that's how they figured out it was him. Part of his like backstory or something. And I believe he has ties with Joanna, but they don't really do much with that plot thread either. Like, Joanna was like shown as like a friend to Lynette in the beginning of the story, but I didn't like it because I thought she was really, really mean. But if I recall correctly, she's teaming up with Tim, but she wasn't on the boat, to find like jewelry and steal it. But yeah, that was a whole thing. But anyway, so that's like the 4 sections, my problems with it. Now I want to go to my rating of this. I will actually give it a 3 out of 5, which I could say it's an average story. I know it's going to make some people upset because it's like a very legendary mystery and she's like a very famous author, but it just wasn't the thing I vibed with. I gave it a try. Maybe there's a mystery book I like a lot more out there, but I could definitely see a lot of other stories took this and built upon it, because I don't think there's anything wrong with being like the famous like anchor to something that bloomed into a great genre. It just might not be my genre, but I can respect it. So yeah, I give it a 3 out of 5. I definitely still recommend to try it. Like, it's a legendary story. I did watch the 2022 adaptation, and I was not a fan of it. I didn't like the changes, but it is what it is. Especially like the romance love plot thing with Poirot in that version. I'm like, where did this come from? I saw the prequel to it, the Orient Express one with the same like universe actor, And that one was interesting. Cool, revealed the end. Did not read the book. It's here. It's on my shelf, but I've not read it. And so, yeah, I'll still recommend the book. So my next book I'm going to read, I'm taking like a short break right now, playing some games, and when I get to that book, I'll read it, is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I've never read Romantasy, but people recommend it, so I'll give it a try. As you know, I normally read just like the classic kind of fantasy or the sword, shields, magic, kind of, like Brandon Sanderson or Tolkien, or even, what was the other one? Joe Abercrombie. Yeah, Joe Abercrombie, I liked his also. And and I've read like A Game of Thrones. So, well, thank you for hanging around and watching this video. I hope you have a good day. Bye.